Generation X. In general terms, those born between 1965 and 1980. Latchkey kids, independent, existentialism, modern philosophy focusing on personal experience, human ability, and responsibility in an otherwise meaningless universe. We're the cause. This is the effect. We're the Gen Existentialists. Welcome in, my friends, to the Gen Existentialist podcast. My name is Scott.
And I'm Bunny.
And we are here to spin Mega Wheel of Magnificent, come up with interesting oddball topics, and chat about them from a Gen X perspective.
Bunny, takes two of us to spin her now. She's big girl.
Yeah, she's big. We've got like 1,490 topics on here. Yep. If you want to send some in, hit us with a message wherever you're listening to this. Carrier pigeons will bring your message to us via the old ways, and we will add them to Mega Wheel.
We are boomers, after all, to everybody that isn't a Gen Xer.
Not boomers. Not boomers. So how you doing today?
I'm
doing
great.
Good? Awesome. So we will give Mega Wheel of Magnificent a spin. And she's spinning. She's spinning. She's going to end up on her head again. Poor Mega Wheel. Okay, our first topic is this. If you could change one thing to make life easier for your own gender, what would you change? I guess first we should make sure that we understand how you identify.
If you have to ask that, you're too
you
young.
Haven't listened to the show before.
You're too young to be in this podcast. Leave. Leave the podcast.
So if you could change one thing to make life easier for your gender.
One thing to make life easier for my gender, there are a lot of things I would change to make life easier for men.
Yeah.
I remember back when I was young, men could just be nice to people and it wouldn't be seen as being rapey or pedo or creepy. All this stuff. I think about the good old days back when...
See, I think a lot of that shit gets blown out of proportion, though.
It does get blown out of proportion, but the problem is it even exists, and it's a shame.
Yeah.
But one thing, a more practical thing I would change for our gender is that I would encourage men to learn how to cook. Sounds dumb. I mean, it's something that I think should be taught from a younger age because... I've been online, I've been on social media, and a lot of younger generation women, they pride themselves in being completely and utterly useless. This is going to sound mean and sexist, but hey, I don't care. The thing is, they go on and on about like, I ain't cooking for no man. I don't know how to cook. I don't do nothing. And I'm like, okay, so if the traditional idea of the man-woman paradigm as it goes, and that at least one person should know how to cook. If you get into a situation where nobody knows how to cook, you're going to be spending a lot of money on food from the store, restaurants, Uber, Dine Dash, whatever the fuck it's called, DoorDash. You're going to be wasting all of your money on that. Guys, I implore you, learn how to cook. It's not hard at all. Watch some videos on YouTube if that's your thing. Watch some videos on TikTok. You might pick up a couple of tips.
Yeah.
But, just learn how to cook. It's good for you. It's good for your potential spouse or mate in the future, whatever you're into. And it's also good for your community. I mean, there's going to be times where you might have to help your mom and dad out in the future. You might have to help an elderly neighbor or a disabled friend to pick up some of the slack. And it's super helpful to just be able to cook the basics. So that's what I would do. I would kind of import the idea or the knowledge of cooking into men's brains ahead of time.
Yeah.
It just make life a lot healthier and a lot more easy for you too. If you decide to stay single, you're all MGTOW, you got the red pill going on, you're still going to have to know how to cook something. So unless you want to eat pizza every night. And I know that sounds great, but boy, when you get 50,
it's
eating
awful.
Pizza every night, you should see the size of my waist. So, not good.
And I think that's for everybody, male, female, at least learn the basics of cooking. Like sure. I'm not a good cook, but I can cook. I can put stuff together. I can make stuff. It may only be me that wants to eat it. I mean, I'm certainly no chef, but it's one of those things you got to know the basics. for me, one thing that I would change to make life easier for my own gender would be a freeing of emotions, because I feel like there's still, amongst Gen X, there's this whole, the male-female thing with this big brick wall in between them. And it's always been frustrating for me, you know, as a songwriter, as a poet, as all the different kind of stuff I do, just let go of those stereotypical ideas and just be, you know, we don't need them. You know, most of those concepts are more boomer concepts than they are Gen X or anybody else. And
I've got a lot to say about that. That's the subject you're talking on, but I'll let you finish.
Okay. Well, I mean, just let go and just be. And my secondary thing that I would change to make life easier for men is more underwear choices. And here's my thing, like tighty whities are awful. I hate things that bunch up and just they're not comfortable. Boxers are uncomfortable and provide no support where support is needed. Men need more choices for underwear. And I'm very jealous of women in that, because women have so many.
Boxer briefs.
Boxer briefs suck because they always roll up your legs. They're awful.
Okay.
I'm
wearing boxer briefs as we pod.
My life has been a constant search for underwear that is comfortable.
Why don't you just
supportive.
go the Greek/European route, the cons route, and get some bikini briefs then?
Well, that's what I'm wearing right now. But still, for
what did we find out?
Men,
the forbidden knowledge.
Well, but they're the most comfortable I've found. And even then, finding a cut. And I don't know, maybe women have the same trouble finding a cut that fits their body. It's just like, I don't feel like enough attention is paid to underwear. Because it has to be utilitarian. It also has to be comfortable.
Yeah.
And then if you can make it fashionable too, that's good for me, for my wife. She sees my underwear and they are, you know, they spark like, hey, those look good on you. That's always a good thing. But more so for the practicality and the comfort.
I will say lately on Amazon and a lot of online shops, the quality of underpants that you get, I don't know where they're getting them manufactured now, some third world country somewhere. It's horrible stitching. Yeah. They have this like really rough, horrible stitch that goes right across your nuts.
Yeah.
And between your legs, and it just rubs against things and causes problems. It's not good.
And then when you take them off and you try to find the offending thread or seam, you can't find it.
You know,
it's crazy.
Is there different anatomy in the East?
I don't know.
I don't know. Because I'll tell you, it's not comfortable for the Western man to wear that. I've actually been splurging. I get my underwear from Nordstrom, of all places. It costs me like $40 for 3 pairs of underwear. It's a ludicrous amount of money, but it's the most comfortable underpants I've ever worn. So
cool.
Tip to men out there. Check out some of your wife's shops like Nordstrom and that, and see if you can't find something that's a little more a little, it might cost you a lot, but buddy, it's right up against your junk.
Yeah.
It's against your love spuds.
And your love spuds need support. That's why I never understood people that wear boxers. Like, what do you get out of that?
I love a boxer though.
Really?
I like the airy feeling.
But like,
but you know, and I know you can say we can go commando, but I wear jeans a lot.
Yeah.
So going commando, that's like, exactly. That's like, why don't I just rough some sandpaper, between my legs? So the boxers are a nice combo there because it's the freeing. I got the freedom of commando without the.
But it's a little bit too free.
I don't mind a little swing.
See, it drives me nuts.
Who's this country music guy?
I need to be lovingly. I need to be lovingly cupped.
Okay,
and held snugly.
I must be the only guy on the planet that doesn't like his balls cupped. Be it in a lovemaking situation or an underpants situation. You know, you've heard about the no-no zone. Well, that's my no-no zone right there. Just don't dig it.
I'm just baffled at how we've ended up at this point.
I know. This whole emotions thing, you were brought up emotions like that, and I know it's a real boomer concept, and I know it's still a Gen X thing.
Yeah,
where it's not good for men to show emotion.
I fucking hate that.
You know, that's my thing. Is like I'm straight as a board from an independent lumber shop. You know, not your Home Depot boards. You know, it's like I have no problem with showing my range of emotions. You know this, unfortunately. I've had some tragedy in my life in the last, decade, and I've cried in front of this guy that's on the other side here. I have been quite emotional about some bad things that have happened in life, and I don't really. And it's one of the few times I actually post on social media is when I'm trying to post something that's a little bit more emotional.
Yeah,
because I think it's important for people to see that you can be straight and hard and narrow and still be able to show your emotions, because that's, that takes, I don't know. It sounds really stupid and machismo and that, but it takes balls to be raw about this kind of stuff. It takes balls to be honest about what's going on in your life right now. There's a difference between expressing an emotion as a man and then being a whiny bitch about things. And it's a very fine line sometimes. Trust me, I got plastered in the melancholy episode we did. Thumbs down, right and left. I get it, guys. I get it.
I didn't
because
see
it was
that.
a big whiny bitch episode where I was being a big whiny bitch about feeling melancholy. I get it. It's a fine line to walk sometimes. But I think it's one of those things where you need to be honest with how you're feeling, and how, as you age, you're going to feel different ways. Mm-hmm. Where I felt completely indestructible and unstoppable in my 20s, and even to the extent in my early 30s, as things started to drop away, as friends started to pass away, as my body started to change, things happen, and you will feel this too. Your parents are going through this. If you're blessed to still have parents, your parents are still going through this right now. They're aging out. Yeah. They're experiencing fear, frustration, sadness, melancholy, joy, love for their spouse, love for you as a child. You're going to feel these things anyway as you age up. So why don't you just put your big boy britches, your big boy boxers, or your big boy bikini briefs up? And
it's amazing how this stuff ties together, isn't it?
And just quit being such a curmudgeon about it, and just be yourself. Let it all out. Let it all hang out, and know when to rein it in too. Yeah. We don't need 38 Facebook posts about how sad you are this week. But we do need you to at least be honest with yourself. And I think it's fine to do that. There's a large female contingent right now, and it may be a younger female contingent, that is super against that idea of men. That gives them the ick, as they say. It gave me the ick when I saw him get upset about a sock or something. I don't know. They come up with amazing excuses to denigrate men who have emotions.
Yeah, and I can't stand that.
In my world, we call it being passionate.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing.
I feel like we dealt with it a lot more when we were younger.
Yeah.
But it's still there. And some of the younger generations are getting into that too. And I don't want to, give a hasty generalization here, because, anytime you go you're pulling people into the net that aren't guilty of whatever you're talking about.
I'm talking about the kettles that are emptiest and make the loudest noise when you hit them.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
They're the ones online spewing stuff all the time. So that's
like
what I
you
see.
said, be honest.
Yeah.
We've all got emotions, and be okay with them. Don't draw a gender line for the emotional range, because it's just absurd. We're all here in the human experience. We all see things differently through our own lenses and feel things differently, but don't just write somebody off because they reacted differently than you think they should have. Fuck you. It's not about you. It's about the person that's feeling the emotion, right?
True. So what we've learned is spend a little more money on your underpants, boys.
Yeah.
Learn how to cook.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to have emotions.
Yeah. There you go.
I mean, if you're with a real woman or a real guy or whatever you're into, they're going to appreciate you being honest about all these things.
Exactly.
And they're certainly going to appreciate it if you make them a nice pizza or something.
Or a pork loin.
Or a pork loin or a steak or any of that kind of stuff.
Pork loins are always good.
Get to cooking.
And with that, we will give Mega Wheel of Magnificent another spin. Mega Wheel has had a few meals in her day. She's pretty big. She landed right side up this time.
Hey,
Gotta love that.
No more neck brace for you.
Okay. I don't know what kind of question this is.
Mm-hmm.
Should plant-based dairy be labeled as milk? Shouldn't that be, should plant-based milk be labeled as dairy?
Yeah, how horrible it is. Think about in the 80s. You could never have gotten away with nut milk. Think about that for a minute.
Well, you could have.
I'm going to spill some nut milk. Yeah, don't cry over my nut milk.
Well, there's nut milk all over the table.
Yeah, so I know they're talking about like soy milk, almond milk, whatever other kind of weird-ass milks there are out there. I don't know. I mean, here's something that I'm lactose intolerant and have been lactose intolerant for about 20 years.
Yeah.
And I don't even think about milk. So I am going to be the bad guy and defer from this and say, I don't really give a shit. I don't think people should be drinking milk anyway, personally, not because of vegetarian reasons, because it comes from an animal's tits. It's weird. Think about it. Would you suck on a cow's udder or a dog's udder or any other kind of weird teat, to get your sustenance? It's kind of fucked up. It's like I could totally see babies drinking mama's milk. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Adults drinking titty milk from
cow milk.
A cow or
a goat.
Yeah, exactly. Or a pig or a dog or whatever else you guys milk out there. It just seems weird.
And this may be contentious. I don't know. My take on milk.
Okay.
I fucking loathe milk.
I agree.
I love ice cream. Sure. I love that milk contributes to so many recipes and foods that I enjoy, much like eggs. Eggs are weird too.
Yeah.
Except for the fact that we are carnivores, and that makes sense. But milk on its own, whether it's vitamin D, and as you go down the line, like 2% milk
water.
and 1% milk is just disgusting.
Yeah, I agree.
I can't stand it. And even chocolate or strawberry milk is just kind of... Yeah, if I had a choice between milk and muddy water from the Licking River, I'm going to take the muddy water from the Licking River.
You're going to get the cholera.
Yeah, but that's fine as an alternative to drinking milk.
You're going to get the Giardia.
Can't
from that.
I can't stand milk. Okay. Now maybe like a plant-based milk, because I've never had almond milk or anything like that. Maybe that would change my mind. But like when we were in school, like having to drink milk at lunch and stuff was just disgusting.
Yeah. I think milk is certainly it's a component to making other things. Like your cheese. And I love bakery
cheese.
Products, stuff like that. It's a component. It's not something that should be consumed just on its own.
Yeah.
It seems weird.
It's got to go through a process. Like, I'm not a big fan of tomatoes, but I love ketchup. Not a big fan of tomatoes, but I love spaghetti sauce.
Okay.
So I don't know what I'm telling you about my palate and just how fucked up I am. But yeah, I can't stand milk. So plant-based dairy labeled as milk, I really don't give a fuck either. Yeah. It's just I'm probably not going to drink it.
I don't want to
anyway.
get into the whole vegan and vegetarian mindset, because I think a lot of that is strange too. But
should we spin again?
Yeah, I think we should.
We will give Mega Wheel.
Save ourselves from losing more audience members.
Can imagine people just clicking away from us in a horror. Okay, this is a good one, and it's probably going to be a good one to take us to the end of the show.
Okay.
How connected are you feeling to the world?
I feel like the strings of my puppet are being cut one by one. Nice. I feel very less connected to the world as I age than I did before. I felt like a druid when I was young. I felt like I was in it. I was part of this whole system. And I've remarked on this before to Scott separately. I don't know if I've ever mentioned it on the show, but I feel like I'm slowly, kind of disappearing.
Yeah.
In one way or another. It feels like every year that goes by, more and more of me disappears until I'm just going to become a ghost.
Yeah.
And then I'll disappear. And that probably means I'll die. And, I'll age out. I'm not sure if other people feel like that as they age. Generation X is getting up there. I mean, we're talking there are some Gen Xers that are 60.
Sure.
now, and others that are, more in their, just starting into their 50s now.
Yeah.
But I feel less and less connected to the world as a concept and as a physical place to be. I have less interest in being around people. I have less interest in seeing new things.
Yeah.
Of traveling, of going places, and people can say, well, you're depressed. That's what it is. You're depressed. And I wonder about that sometimes, because I'm very content with my life to an extent. I have great marriage, great friends, great job, great lifestyle.
Yeah.
I just don't feel like I need more right now. I feel like I'm kind of in the groove, and I just want to enjoy the groove while I'm here.
Yeah,
So.
I get that. I see, when I was younger, I felt very disconnected. I felt, especially as I felt like an observer, especially as a writer, as a poet, as a songwriter. Like I wasn't part of things. I was kind of observing things. And part of that was I used to love to just sit away from people and just watch.
Okay.
And kind of build stories in my head about what was actually going on, and kind of live in that weird fantasy world that artists do sometimes. And as I've aged, I've become more connected because I've learned more. I'm wiser now. I know more about what's going on and why. And because of that, I long for that disconnect again. I feel like I'm going to break into that Rollins band song, Disconnected. I want to pull my brainstem out and disconnect myself, because I just feel like I would be happier if I didn't know.
It's a veiled Mortal Kombat reference to you kids out there.
I feel like I would be happier if I didn't know a lot of the stuff that I did, if I wasn't able to, through whatever training I've had, see through some of the propaganda and see what's happening. I don't want to see that, because I know what's happening. I know how the manipulation is going on, and you see people falling for it, and it just makes me want to unplug and just, like you said, pull back.
I was going to say, I'm surprised, because I would say that my wisdom over the years has been the thing that has severed my ties with the world. It's made me less, working in film and media, I was taught propaganda tactics, like how to do it from the time I started. So I see it maybe more readily than a lot of people out there. If you're just a regular dude, or dudette, and you don't really think about these things and you passively consume media, then but I see it because I know how to make it.
Right.
And the older I get, the less enthused I am about hearing anybody's take on anything.
See, I think my thing is,
I want to leave.
I naturally want to try and fix things. I naturally want to try and set things right. And I know the grand majority of people in the world have no care at all for what I have to say. And I get that, and that's fine. But there's that part of me, when I see that stuff happening, I want to scream from the rooftops, like, this is what you're actually being told. And I know I can't. And that makes me want to just start snipping the puppet strings myself, and, like I said, disconnect from everything, because I don't want to be part of that world. I just want to kind of become more of a recluse and just do my thing with the people I love, and just the rest of the world can go fuck itself, basically. Because it's too much for me. I tend to be a little bit empathic too.
That's too much for any one person.
It's just, and I think social media has hurt me.
Oh yeah.
I need to pull back from that a lot more, because the more I see, the more frustrated I get, and the more problem I have with the things that I'm reading and what's going on. And I just want to shred everything.
We talked about social media earlier, and how I had actually unfriended a number of people. If you're listening to this, we're not friends on Facebook anymore. Seek therapy. You post too many political rants and religious rants. But, outside of that, it's not so much. I totally understand everybody's going to have different points of view. And people, I can still be friends with you if we don't share the same moralistic standpoint on whatever,
Right.
because I'm not you and you're not me.
Yeah.
The thing, we're independent people. But I think what disappoints me isn't so much the fact that people have wildly different beliefs than I have.
Mm-hmm.
It's the fact that people have no manners about it. I guess it's a weird way of saying it. It's that people have no internal filter, and they just throw out nasty, horrible stuff online over and over again, and then they act offended when somebody pushes back.
Yeah.
And it's like, do you not have any idea of etiquette or
etiquette
manners
and basic communication?
Yeah.
What is communication to you? Most of it is listening.
Yeah, agreed.
And yet social media has given us this world where everybody can scream into the void, and all you get is a cacophony. And occasionally, every once in a while, you might latch onto a thread that resonates and is positive and means something.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's just this sucking morass of bullshit.
Well, yeah, and I think that's what really disappoints me in some people, and another reason why I pull away anymore is that I really thought better of a person. It's not that I don't care about what you believe in. Mm-hmm. I might not, but
probably not.
But that doesn't mean that I don't like you, that we can't be friends, or that we weren't friends, or whatever. Mm-hmm. It just means when you shout out terrible things to the world, and you make blanket statements constantly, and you alienate people, and you do this in public, and then you act like, oh, I never said anything wrong. That's abusive behavior. That's the same as me saying, "Oh, it wasn't me that hurt you. It was the alcohol talking."
Right. Yeah.
It wasn't.
Point.
I didn't. I didn't mean to give you a black eye, baby. It was just, I was drunk. And,
that's a great analogy.
It's that kind of idea of like, well, you can just go around shitting on people and shitting on huge swaths of the world, cultures, religions, whatever, and then wipe it all away and say, "Oh, I was just ranting."
Right.
I was just thinking about it. I just had to get my emotions out. That kind of stuff gets you popped in the real life, in the real world.
Yep.
Go into a biker bar and just get your emotions out. Tell me how many teeth you carry out in the basket.
We'll wait outside for you.
They'll throw you out eventually.
We'll wait outside for you with our phones dialed 9-1 and just wait to press that last button.
It's that kind of weird. It's like you said. It's like, I know everybody wants to change the world, and everybody's looking for some sort of fight to get into, and everybody wants to be a champion for something.
Everybody wants to be a hero, but nobody actually understands what heroism is.
Well, until you get punched in the nose, and then everybody thinks differently. It's like that. The first contact with the enemy changes your mind quickly. So I appreciate warriors in real life. I really do.
Yeah.
If you are a warrior who's willing to really take one for the team, for your beliefs, I have the utmost respect in you, even if you're my enemy.
That's a
far
huge
cry.
difference from being a keyboard warrior.
Yeah, exactly. So,
and on that note, this has been the Gen Existentialists. My name is Scott.
And I'm Bunny.
And we'll catch you next time. Have a good one.